see everybody here today. And I really want to thank the elders for asking me to study on this because it was good for me. First, show of hands. How many in here have daughters? Have at least one daughter? Okay. How many have two daughters? 3? Anybody with 4? Okay, that's good. I have to admit, I started out in the wrong place. I went down some fascinating psychobabble rabbit holes until I thought, the Bible has everything we need. I think it was the title that threw me off, What Our Daughters Need. And so it was kind of fun, but it was the wrong place. So the only place that we need to go when we need to find out what somebody needs is the Bible. So let me go back and ask, who in here is a daughter? Gotcha, right. Well, that's good because you know what you needed growing up, and you probably know what you're trying to give to your own daughters because of what you needed. And so I hope you will share with us what you're trying to give your daughters because of what you needed. And then we can share together and help give each other what we need. But we're going to go and turn to Titus 2 and start there because the Bible does give us what we need, and that will help us. But we're going to start with verse 5. Admonish the young women, our daughters, to love their husbands, love their children, be discreet, chaste, obedient to their own husbands, that the word of God may not be blasphemed. I bet you thought I was going to talk about what 2-year-olds to teenagers need. We will be. Hang on. It's really the same thing because we're going to be training them for the Lord. Now, there's 2 ways to admonish. We'll go over the easiest way first. Our daughters need to learn to love their husbands. Now, this is interesting because it's the only time that women are taught, wives are taught to love their husbands. With a husband-wife relationship, you'd think the Holy Spirit would have used the word agape, like he told the husbands to in Ephesians 5. But he doesn't. You think he might have used the word storge, which means family relationships. He doesn't use that one either. Maybe eros, which is the passion or the things that we use for normally when we're talking about husbands and wives. Doesn't use that one either. He uses the word for friendship. Well, that's really interesting, isn't it? Now, think about that. How do you teach someone friendship and affection? How do you teach your child to love like a friend? Because that's what you're going to want to try to teach your daughter, how to love her husband like a friend with affection. Tell me some ways. I've got some ideas if you get stuck, but y'all give me some ideas. How do you teach affection and how to show affection to your children? You gotta talk. Pardon me? Excellent. I think we're gonna get there. But now tell me how you teach a 2 or a 3-year-old. Showing it to them. Good, all right? When you send them off to a play date, what do you tell them? You tell them, I love you. Okay, how do you tell them when they're talking to their friend and you see how they're acting? What do you do? Pardon me? Good. You ask them to use kind words to their friend. Good. Okay, when they're a little older in junior high school and they're having a little trouble with their friends, what do you tell them? Maybe spend a little time with them. Is that something we talk to them about? If you have a good friend, you spend time with them, right? Okay. You assure them that you have good. I like you. I spend time with you. I like to spend time with you. Okay. You with a friend, you kind of talk to them about it's okay if you think differently than I do, right? And you let them know that that's okay. You understand that they have quirks that are different than yours are. That's okay with you. And that's something you do. Um, Sometimes when you have a friend, you see something in the store and you think, oh, they would like that. I'll buy that for them, right? Those are the kinds of things that we try to teach our children with their friends, and that they can transfer that to their husband. And so we're trying to teach them how to show affection. In our culture, we've kind of made Valentine's Days and anniversaries things that husbands do for their wives. But using this word, the Holy Spirit is trying to tell us that no, wives do these things for their husbands. We show affection to our husbands. It's not just what they do for us. And so we need to try to help them understand that we need to show affection to our husbands. And when they get older, this is what they need to be doing. And so we start when they're children to teach them that this is how you show affection and friendship to your friend. Okay? But men are a little different. So we do have to understand that. They do need tenderness, but they're going to accept it a little differently, and that's okay, because they are different, and that's all right. Our daughters have to be taught to love children. You'd think that would be easy, but it's actually harder than it sounds, because though it's easy for you to love your child, it's hard to teach someone else to love children if they don't naturally do. But since the Holy Spirit tells us to teach it, I think he knows that some women don't naturally love children. Haven't you all seen people in the grocery store that are yelling at their children or jerking them around, and you kind of wanted to say, if you don't love that child, let me take them home with me and I will. Well, this is something that does have to be taught. And I think, like you said, that we do it best probably in our own homes about how we act towards our children. But we can also teach it. Now, how do you teach your children how to love children? Give me some ideas. Oh, come on, you got to talk or this is going to be awful short. Good. Oh, I like that. Yes, okay. Quiet time with one child. I like that. Yes. Okay. Oh, good. Yes. Playfulness. I like that. Good. All right. What about babysitting? Do you ever help your child when they're your daughter? Do you let them babysit while you're watching them? And talk to them about what they're doing right and wrong with that, and how they can be a little more careful with their words with the children? Give them some ideas. I know y'all do this. Yes.
How do you talk about when there's going to be a new birth in your congregation?
Oh, good.
It's exciting and what's going on, and they're going to grow their family and work, but
good. You're giving them that attitude that this is a good time and a fun thing. I like that. Yeah. Great. Okay. Yeah.
How do you speak back to other children, especially their friends as they get older?
Yes. Yeah. When they bring their friends home, how you behave towards their friends. Good. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
It might start even, younger than that, as a young toddler, purchasing baby dolls and practicing taking care of babies and loving babies.
Yes. I like that.
Things like
That there is some girls like baby dolls more than others. Maybe that's the nurturing that we can nurture in them. Yeah. Right. Okay. I think maybe letting them go help those new moms in the congregation might be a good way. And when they get a little older, we can encourage them to take babysitting classes. I don't know if they do that anymore, and first aid classes so that they're ready to go help in some of those kind of ways. One of my friends pointed out to me to be really careful not to compare your children to each other, so that they, don't ever feel like, oh, I'm not going to make the straight A's like my sibling did. I'm not as good at painting as this one is. But to kind of to celebrate what each one is good at and enjoy that part of them. I think that's a really good idea to help nurture their special things. And some of them, their special talents don't show up for a long time, and so that's okay too. But we kind of need to help them with that. Okay. What the next part in that verse was our daughters need to learn to be discreet, New King James said, or sensible, New American Standard said, but I thought that meant not ostentatious. I like that word. Actually, English Standard Version has it better. Not to be self-controlled. And that one's a little harder. Lisa talked a little bit about it. Self-controlled is something that we do all have to work on. It is a fruit of the Spirit. And sometimes we don't work on that very well. And I think we need to all be more careful with that. For me, sometimes it means not saying the first thing that pops into my head. All of us have to work on that. What is a way that we help our daughters to be more self-controlled? I know we all have to work on that ourselves, but how do we help our children, our daughters?
Something my daughter does is cry about everything.
Okay, how's that? Because they've got those emotions. Have you got any things that you found that help?
No, that's why I'm here.
All right, who's found something that helps with those emotions for girls?
It's important for them to realize that they don't always have to be perfect every day.
Great.
Their friends are not going to be perfect every day.
Okay.
Some days you may like them better than you do other days.
Okay.
You may like your kids better some days.
Sometimes I like myself better than other days. All right. Yeah.
I have young daughters, but I have one that is very, very emotional. 100%, that is the emotion you're getting. And I deal with it in the moment. I teach her tools like you need to pause your brain, breathe, and let's count or get your brain off of it. And then after the moment's over, we can talk about it more. But in that moment, you can't, dive into teaching because she's on the overload.
Yeah.
Teach her how to calm down, and
Right.
it's okay to express it, but not like that.
Yeah. Okay. I remember my middle daughter. I can't remember what she did, but she was, and I said, "Go into your room. Don't come out until you've stopped crying." She got down from the table. She was tiny. Got down from the table, walked into her room, turned around, came out with a smile on her face. So you just kind of laugh at those things and go on. But yeah, they do kind of break down and throw a fit and whatever. But we do have to be careful with that. We're trying to teach self-control. And I know I've heard my son-in-law talk to their kids and say, all right, get control of yourself, and sometimes it works a little better than others. We put limits on them sometimes. You may have one plate to eat at the table. You can have 15 minutes on the phone or whatever. I've wondered, does that help them when they get older? I'm not sure. I want to believe it does. In the 1970s, they did a test to see if self-controlled toddlers or young children turned out to be more successful adults. They called it the marshmallow test. it developed then in the 80s and the 90s into strategies for teaching self-control. And I'm not very smart, so I had to boil their 5 things down into 3. And it basically was, let's see, I wrote it down, avoidance, out of sight, out of mind. What they did was they put a marshmallow, they brought a kid into a room, put a marshmallow in front of him, and said, if you don't eat the marshmallow until I come back, I'll give you 2 marshmallows. Some of the kids could not eat the marshmallow, and they got 2. Most of them couldn't. There it goes. Some of the kids would turn their back to it, and then they could wait. Some of them would go over in the corner and play with something else. Some of them would sing a song, and then they could wait. So they boiled it down into what I call the 3 things: avoidance, out of sight, out of mind, they'd turn around. Positive distraction, those were the ones that went and played with a toy. And some of them were self-directed speech. They would sit there and go, I don't want to eat that marshmallow, I want 2 marshmallows. I don't want to eat that marshmallow because I want 2 marshmallows. So something like that. It would tell us, it would be something like, God told me not to, so I'm not going to do that. So those kind of 3 things that we can teach a little kid that, you can go, don't look at it, go do something else, go play with a toy, constantly remind yourself, Daddy said no. And so those are some things that we can kind of teach to help with self-control. I hope it works. I want it to work. Maybe it works with me a little bit. Out of sight, out of mind does kind of help with me. Yeah.
Something that we started recently is when we're having a meltdown. I have 2 girls, lots of crying, so if we're in the middle of that, we stop and we pray, and we think about those fruits of the Spirit, and almost immediately they will change their attitude, and it helps a lot.
Oh, I don't know that anything could help better than prayer. Excellent. Thank you. I think that's excellent. What could we need more than prayer? Yeah, I love it. Good. Interrupting others is one I think that we do need to teach that. And I think we've all seen that interrupt rule for little ones, that when they need to come talk to you, that they could put their hands on your thigh and just stand there till you then you put your hand and say, okay, I know you're here, I'll talk to you in a minute. I think that's a wonderful little rule. But yeah, prayer for the meltdowns, that sounds like an excellent idea. Good. All right, I think the next in Titus was that our daughters need to be taught to be chaste. Chaste is pure. So we're going to split that into 2 categories: modesty and dating. We have all heard how many lessons on modesty, and they won't ever give us nice, clear, black and white rules. And I like rules. So much easier. But 1 Peter 3 says, do not let your adornment be merely outward, arranging the hair, wearing gold, or putting on fine apparel. Rather, let it be the hidden person of the heart. The problem is, you are revealing your heart in how you dress. So that's why we can't have rules. Phooey. Still, after all these lessons, we see sometimes our daughters wanting to wear things that are just not modest. So they're dressed shamefully sometimes, like my dad used to say, in their 90s. Why is it? Y'all help me with this, because I really don't understand. Is it the dads who see a 3-year-old when their daughters are out dressed, in cheerleading outfits, dancing around when they're really 17? Is it the moms that want their daughters to be popular? That's what a coworker that was not a Christian told a friend of mine. I don't understand. Is it the social pressure that we haven't gotten through to our girls, that social pressure is not what they are all about? Is it really okay to show breasts, bellies, backs, and thighs wedding dresses. I don't understand Christian girls that wear wedding dresses that they wouldn't wear any other time. We aren't getting through to hearts. Y'all tell me, what are we not getting here?
My dad is the one that taught me modesty because he knows how the man thinks. And he didn't let me out of the house if I had on something improperly. And so I think, not, this is a blanket statement, but dads need to step up with their daughters too. And,
He wasn't afraid to tell you.
right,
You don't know what the boys are thinking.
right.
I think that's a good point. I do, yeah.
I think part of the problem is you've got mothers that are sharing on Facebook pictures of their daughters dressed in shorts and on the beach. You've got mothers sharing that.
Why are they proud of it?
I don't understand, and I don't understand why she would want other men looking at her daughter dressed that way, and why a daddy would want his daughter dressed that way for men. You know, there's so much evil. Pedophiles and all this, and they'll sometimes think, well, she's so young, but still, that's what a lot of men are looking at, and why a mother would share that and share her teenage daughter.
Yeah,
I don't understand that.
I don't either. I really am baffled. And maybe it's because we're old, we've got the gray hair, you know? Yeah. Yeah, please.
A lot of times, I think sometimes that wives don't respect their husbands when it comes to things like that, because they may want their daughter to fit in, or they may want, oh, it's not that bad, and they go to battle for something that they shouldn't be going to battle for. And it's a lack of respect to the husband being the head of the household.
Good point. We're gonna get to that a little bit more too, but yeah, good point, yeah.
I think it's maybe a lack of just teaching in the world in general, but I really think that a lot of the girls think there's nothing wrong with it. And maybe that's because there's not clear black and white guidelines from the Bible, but I think just the teaching in general has been lost.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't grow up in a Christian home, and so when I was in high school, my mom, I think it was, that's how you attracted a mate. Like, and like, I think you know what that's gonna do. And I remember being told, if you've got it, flaunt it, which is crazy to think about now as a mom. And I think my mom would probably die if I said that, because she's changed her tune a little bit. But I think that it is like, I think whenever fathers and families we're not giving the attention that our daughters need and crave, they're going to get that. They're going to seek that from somewhere else, whether it's on social media or how they dress with their peers. Like, you don't get it at home, what you need. You're going to get it from somewhere, even if it's not the place that you want it from.
That's a good point, because I remember that feeling as a teenager of enjoying getting attention. And, ouch, yeah.
I do not have daughters.
Pardon me?
I do not have daughters. I have two. I have 3 sons.
Uh-huh.
My oldest is 16, and he has shown some interest in a few ladies here and there. We're talking about modesty and stuff. So I think it can fall back on how I dress. So if I'm dressing properly, then he is going to seek a wife who also dresses properly.
Good point, yeah. And you probably have talked to him too about, that's really just not appropriate dress for who he brings home. Yeah. I think I saw another hand, yeah.
I was just thinking about how our home is to be a reflection of Christ and the church.
Uh-huh.
And so in our home, what we do is a reflection of that. So just in whatever we're doing, and a way to teach our children, am I sowing to the flesh when I'm doing this or dressing this way, or whatever with my hair or
Uh-huh.
whatever, or am I sowing to the Spirit?
Right.
And if we're really honest with ourselves, a lot of times we're sowing to the flesh.
Right. Yeah.
And so, you know, just maybe as a starting point, the reflection of Christ and the church
Mm-hmm.
being what the home is. And I know everybody doesn't have that privilege to have grown, you know,
Right.
but it's a place to start.
Sure.
So that then when these issues arise,
Right.
it's
That you're starting at the heart.
yes.
Right.
Am I sowing to the Spirit? When I look in the mirror and
Yeah.
I'm dressed this way, I might look good,
Yeah.
but am I sowing to the Spirit?
Right.
And if we're honest,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I think that she made a really good point. A lot of times we focus on, well, this is where your skirt needs to be, this is where everything needs to be. We don't focus as much on the heart, because like she said, it all stems from the heart.
Right.
So we're not teaching them the reasons why we're dressing that way, that we're following after God's own heart, and we're just teaching them, well, this is what you gotta do. And they're not gonna follow anyway. It's just like people that leave the church. They're leaving the church because they're not understanding. We're wanting to follow God because we love Him and He loves us, not because we have to.
Right. Good. Good.
You can't just say no.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
don't have to go to the prom.
Ma-
You're gonna go out naked, you're not going.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can be a parent.
Yes. Yeah. Unfortunately, I know of a lady in the congregation that was a daughter of a preacher. Her parents just said no. As soon as she got out, it was like, give me the bikini, I'm out of here, you know, and it's like, you know,
But you did what you
yeah, that wasn't my daughter, fortunately, but I didn't get it, yeah.
I think they were talking about the modesty is the heart, but nakedness is not.
Right,
There are black and white lines. on
there are
nakedness.
somewhere.
And so in Genesis 3 and Isaiah 47, it talks about, I think this is where the heart comes in.
Mhm.
Do you have shame?
Mhm.
You are showing your nakedness.
Mhm.
And so I think that even though modesty is a heart issue, it talks about the New Testament, it doesn't have lines. There are lines about nakedness.
Yes.
So we need to be teaching our daughters and ourselves
Mhm.
those lines. I was not raised in the church, had no religious background whatsoever, and I didn't know that there were things that were shameful for
Right.
me. I wasn't taught that shame. And that shame is a part of the heart. Do I want to please God?
Yes.
And do I want to avoid tempting these young men? You know, I have boys and girls, and trying to teach my men, you need to go after girls, and that's what's beautiful. You know, and trying to point out at church when I see girls dressed modestly and not showing their nakedness, and telling them she was so beautiful
Mhm.
today, and that is so beautiful.
That's it.
So that they will seek out, so that then when he becomes a husband of daughters,
Yes.
that he will then tell her, that's so beautiful,
Right.
that dress, that
Yes.
you're covering her nakedness.
Yes.
So,
Good point. I would like to see us talk to talk to our girls about, we expect men and our dates, our brothers, our husbands, any man for that, our fathers, any of them, to protect us physically. When we're walking down the street and the muggers are approaching, we expect them to protect us. And in that way, I expect a woman to protect them spiritually. It's wrong of me to act or dress provocatively and contribute to their sin. I don't think I'm responsible for their sin, but I don't want to in any way contribute to it. And so I don't want to dress or act in a way that tempts them. Just like I wouldn't want them to not protect me when a mugger's coming. I'm going to try to protect them. They're just different than we are. They think differently. So I need to help them as much as I can. I love the idea of buying a full-length mirror, the ones that swivel, and teach them how to use it. Sit in front of it and show them what can be seen when they cross their legs, when they stoop down, I noticed one of our young ladies in Wilsonville the other day. She had on a dress that had a neckline about like this, and she was reaching down to pick up something that her daughter dropped, and her hand just automatically went up to her chest to hold her neckline down. And I thought, her mom has taught her to be careful of her neckline whenever she stoops over, because there was no need for that at all. But that was just an automatic response of that when she stooped over. And then later I was talking to a mom, and she said, yes, and we were sitting in the ballpark, and the lady next to my husband got up and turned around, and there was her bottom right in my husband's face. And I thought, we got to think about those things. We're ladies. There's a lady online, she does the Inside Out School of Etiquette that just talks about how ladies compose themselves, and they don't stoop over, they drop down. And they're very careful about etiquette and things like that. Those things are things that we can teach our daughters that have to do with being chaste and pure and careful and ladylike. We've forgotten those things. Our culture has forgotten those things, but our Christians have forgotten those things too. Yeah.
I think we also need to teach our daughters not to be embarrassed of being ladylike.
Oh, excellent. Yes.
Because most of the people in the world, people that we go to school with, they might give them a hard time for dressing differently or talking differently. Anything that they do that's different, if they don't fit in completely, it can be embarrassing. So we have to teach them it's not about pleasing them, it's about pleasing God.
Excellent. That's exactly right. We're not here to please the world. We're here to please the Lord. And then we're going to go to our other part of being chaste or pure. In dating, we need to help them to learn to be chaste and pure in dating. If your daughter has a reputation of being modest in dress and being careful in her words and deeds, she is going to draw the attention of a God-fearing man. And you want her to understand that that's what she's looking for in a husband. By the way, that's the purpose of dating, not just going out with friends to have a good time. Being pure and chaste in dating is refraining from sexual everything. You want to help her set her standards high. You want to help her on a date draw her line very carefully. You can't draw the line for her, but it's going to help her if she hears what you think a line ought to be. My dad sent us out the door with the line, remember who you are. Great line. But unfortunately, he never told me who I was. And I was just a little bit too clueless and airheaded to think about it. You gotta sit down and talk to them, even when they're the good girls. So, how are you gonna help your girls remain chaste when they're on a date? Give me some of your ideas. Yes?
One thing Bob always told us is Satan loves good girls and good boys, so never be in a room alone with your spouse. Even though you're pure and he's pure, Satan loves pure girls.
Oh, I like it. Just that extra layer of precaution. Yes. A long time ago, they were very careful to always have a chaperone, weren't they, when they went out? Good. Okay. What were some of y'all's rules that worked?
The problem is when you get down to number 5, he doesn't have anybody to go with.
Our rules were a little outlandish, I think, but our children could not date till they were 17. Actually, it was 18, 17 if they behaved. And they could go anywhere with 5 or more before then. So one of my daughter's friends had a T-shirt that said, I was number 5. But she actually married the man that she found at 15, and that was the only one she found. And let's see, I can't remember where I was going with that. Oh well. But they stayed together. They always had the same ones. Where were we going on that? I don't remember that. Oh well.
Not just being alone.
Oh yeah, five or more was safe. You could do things together that way. So it's things that you can do. A little date role playing before they go out. I love this idea. Have a pack of cards in your purse. And things get a little bit awkward, you can always pull it out and say, let's play Crazy Eights. If they get married, you can say, that can become a little code word for, okay, I'm tired of Crazy Eights, and that means let's go to bed, you know. So, or a joke to tell to cool things off a little bit. You need to tell them where hands belong, yours and his. You need to talk about kissing, French kissing. No part of your body belongs inside my body. Things like that, yeah.
My daughter's very young, like 6 months, but I think one thing that I could have benefited from, and I think all kids can, is being very frank with your child, like, look, these are the temptations that can happen, and the things are fun. Sin can be fun. Because I think we're not real enough with our kids sometimes.
Yes.
So and their temptation is real, like, you know, even though I'm old now.
That's right.
I remember.
Yeah.
You know,
and they don't think we ever were there. That's right.
I think being real with your kids and being honest.
I think that's right. Yeah, absolutely. I think, yes.
I told mine that it's not that I don't trust you, it's my job to protect you, and I'm not gonna let you get yourself into a situation that you might not be able to handle what happens in said situation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I let her know, and I let him know that, yes, I trust you, but it's still my job to protect you, and that's why we're not gonna let you do certain things, or that's why we need to know, you know, how you feel about this and what you're gonna do should this situation arise.
Yeah, because they don't know how strong the temptation is. They don't know. They don't understand till they're there, and it might be too late. Yeah, yeah. Y'all have been through it. You've been through it yourself, or you've been through it with your daughters, or both. So you're not. Well, you had your son, so. All right. A list of activities or ideas that you can have, that they can have in their head, ready to go, and they can always say, "I'm ready to go home. I need to call my mom." That's the wonderful thing about cell phones now. You know, we used to have to send them off with a quarter and go find a payphone. Things are nice now with the cell phones that they can call. Let's see. No more ideas on dating for them? Yeah.
Some advice someone had given us was to always pray before the date.
Oh.
It sets the stage for what the expectations are.
Love that.
To pray for one another to be strong.
Oh, good. Yes. Oh, if they're, which our kids always had to date Christians. That was just the rule. But let them pray together. Yeah.
Well, the gentleman that gave that advice said if a man isn't willing to pray with you at the beginning of the date, then that's probably where, as far as the date needs to go.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah. Actually, that was, I think I had a thing down there. Oh, that's later on. Okay. But yeah, good point. Okay. Our daughters need to learn to be homemakers. That was still back in Titus. Keeping a home calm, organized, and clean, and finding beauty in keeping a home so others can go slay the dragons. You know, we had a song in Vacation Bible School years ago that was, washing the dishes, Lord, I'm washing the dishes, working for your glory, washing the dishes. I love that. So that means we've got to teach them how. You know, you can learn anything on YouTube anymore, but you don't learn how to love it at the feet of your mother or your grandmother. And I think that's important. I know they've got to learn how to have some kind of a job or career anymore. And that's okay, because they might have to support themselves. Things can change in a heartbeat. But they need to want to be a a homemate. And they need to have that desire to be what God really intended them to be. If they have to go out and make a living, that's okay. But we don't want to raise princesses that can't be happy with whatever their husband makes or whatever they have at their income and always be wanting more. So I want them to learn chores and housekeeping and to enjoy it and not see it as something that is difficult. You have any ideas on how to teach them to love housekeeping? Yeah.
Be careful the way that you are around them, like, don't be complaining about all the housework that you have to do. Show them that you're happy about it, and then also show them how to do it, like if you're starting them, okay, you're supposed to clean the bathroom, take them in there and show them this is what you do, and keep teaching them until they figure
Yes,
it out.
yes. And to show them the satisfaction of doing a good job, a shiny faucet. It feels good, yeah. I think one of the most interesting and fun way is camping. Nobody likes camping anymore, but when you're out camping, you are learning to make do, because if you forgot something, you just have to do with what you got and not run to the store and get it. And it's fun, and you can do it and have fun with it. So I love that, yeah. Did I see a hand? Oh, no, you can't Twitter. Yeah. Okay, so that's a way. You know, they can learn to have less in their closet than they really need and have the joy of giving to somebody else, even if that's a thrift store where somebody else who doesn't have the means you do can enjoy something that's really, really nice. So that's a kind of a fun way to help them to learn that this is okay, to not have everything I could have had. And when you help them with the housework, it might mean you don't do as much as you could do while they're learning, or that they learn to appreciate what you do while they can then do their schoolwork and have that extra job and things, but they have appreciated what you're giving to them, and that's a good thing. Our daughters need for us to teach them to be good. That word is kindness in American Standard and the English Standard Version. And perhaps that's the easiest word to use for children. Kindness is a little easier to understand. Though in Ephesians 2, we're told we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, that we should walk in them. How do you teach your daughter to be kind? What do you do? Yeah. Ooh, yeah. All right. Give me some examples. What do you see sometimes that you go, mm-mm?
When you talk ill of their siblings.
Ooh, we hear that a lot, don't we? Yep. Sometimes it's tattling, right? Sometimes it's just the back and forth of every day. What else do we see? Yeah.
My daughter's only child, we do have a dog, and how she treats the dog.
Okay.
She fights with the dog, so we have to teach her to use soft hands to be kind, and we need to make her apologize when she hurts.
Okay, all right. That's good. I loved this idea I saw, that when you're driving home from the church building and you've got the church bulletin, and here's the list of everybody who's sick and everybody who's in the hospital, and here's all the shut-ins. Can we go through the list and go, okay, what can we do this week for this person? Can you draw them a card? Can we go visit so-and-so? Hey, who can bake some cookies this week? Can we think of things on the list to do for this person? And trying to teach kindness to our children. That's something we can do. What else could we do? Get your juices flowing. Yeah.
Teach them how to receive kindness.
Okay, to receive kindness and to be grateful for it. Yes, I saw it back here.
I think we need to teach them how to apologize when they've not been kind.
Oh, good.
Sometimes I found that I need to apologize to them if I've not been kind. And so that models it, and it's also sincere, hopefully, but it models that ability to say you're sorry.
Yes. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Now, y'all back there are a bit too quiet. I know you've got ideas.
They copy everything we do.
Yeah. Yeah.
We told our daughters and our son, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Because sometimes what they're saying is legitimate, but their tone is not okay.
Yeah. Tone of voice. I'm bad at that. Yeah. Right. Okay. Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to say. Sometimes I've been guilty of saying be nice. And nice isn't a biblical word. Kind is. And it really means the same thing a lot. I really would like for us to use the word kind instead of nice. Be kind to Sally. Go speak to the new little girl in your class. Be kind. I think that would get the thought across better, but it would be using biblical language that maybe we can get the point across a little better. So let's try to be more specific when we talk to children and to our daughters about this is what I mean when I say be kind. I mean for you to sit quietly. I mean for you to go give the lady at the nursing home, let her pinch your cheeks, let her old lips kiss you. It's okay, you'll be all right. And this is a way you can be kind. Listen to the old story for the 15th time. This is kindness. And that way we teach them that this is what you can do to be good and to be kind. Okay? Our daughters need for us to teach them to be obedient to their husbands. Now notice that to love their husbands was at the top of the list. But now at the bottom, we're told to teach them to be obedient. Now we're going to look at the rest of 1 Peter 3, 4 and 5. Adorn yourself with the incorruptible beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is very precious in the sight of God, being submissive to your own husbands. I think for the sake of time, I'm going to skip over gentle and quiet spirit, or maybe because I need that part worse. But right now, our focus is on obedience, so I get to skip it. Obeying your husband really starts with obeying their father. So, how do you teach your daughter to obey her father? Yeah. Okay, excellent. It starts with obeying your husband, doesn't it? And that's how she starts to learn to obey her father, and then how she learns to obey her husband.
You don't cut your husband's legs out from under him.
Yes. Yes, you're exactly right.
Be careful who you marry.
Yes, because you are going to obey him. That's right. Yeah. Okay.
Well, going back to the dress situation, maybe tell your daughter, go see what your dad thinks about that dress.
Oh, good.
Because
Acquiesce to his is.
as a mother of two sons, I've taught several teenage girls classes on modesty. And I teach it from the idea of how my son looks at your daughter, if she's fully dressed or if she's scantily dressed. And I get real frank with them, because I watch how they watch them. So maybe instead of a woman with daughters teaching the young girls, maybe a mother of sons can teach them.
Perhaps.
From the standpoint of, okay, your choice. Whether you want him to look at you as how your body looks or how you are as a person.
Or what's inside.
A full person.
Yeah, right.
Both intellectually and fun-loving and just as a whole person.
Because this part's going to fade away, isn't it? And then if that's the only thing they love, what do you got left? Yeah. Okay. When my youngest, Marie, was about 5, her daddy laid down the law that she had to stop sucking her fingers. She sucked her fingers. I'm Mom. I would have let her suck her fingers till she walked down the aisle. But her daddy said no. So she helped me sew up some muslin little sacks that had a drawstring. And we went out and bought these real cute little Band-Aids. She didn't know what we were doing. And I told her that Daddy said no. And I cried, she cried. And I told her if Dad said no, you can't suck your fingers anymore. And we have to obey Daddy. She understood. And she stopped sucking her fingers. That's the point. When they understand they have to obey Daddy, they learn they have to obey God, and they have to obey their husbands. I think that's a principle we lay down when they're young, because it does transfer to God, and it transfers over to their husbands as well. All right, well, what about arguing when they get a little older and they start to reason a little bit? They start to understand what we're talking to them by questioning, and questioning often turns into arguing, and tone of voice gets in there. So where do we draw the line between trying to help them understand and putting up with arguing? I know when my son went off to college and took a class in debate, I thought, oh, great. That's all I need is for him to learn how to argue better, you know. So, give me some ideas. Where does argument and debate and respect blend in? Have you found a good way?
A lot of it, I think, still goes back to the tone of voice and how you
Present.
portray, yes.
Yeah.
That comes across, like there's a nice way to ask and not be so demanding or argumentative or.
I think that's a good point, demanding and argumentative. And maybe we can say, to kind of correct them, we'll say, all right, let's back down and try to put this in a little better tone of voice. Yeah. Remember who you're speaking to. Yeah. Any other? Okay, so let's be careful with it, and we can encourage discussion for information, and even discussion for please will you reconsider, but it needs to be please will you reconsider, and not a demand for reconsidering.
And I think a lot of it has to do with the concept of meekness and that quality that
Oh,
you have power.
I like that.
You have the power of argument, you know, going back to modesty, you have this power to attract men, but God demands of us a higher standard that we keep that under control. And while you may have the greater argument, you're still called to be higher than that.
Yes. From there, I want to tell you, give you a quote from Collie Caldwell, and this will get us. He wrote, "A wife should voluntarily allow the known desires of her husband to guide her. Her husband should never have to demand or command her obedience. She should promote harmony. A husband might not tell his wife no, but may say, that's not a good idea, and hope she respects his judgment enough to drop her own plan. Can we encourage our daughters to do that by training them to respect their father's decisions? Moms, when your daughter has asked to go to a concert or a football game and dad has said no to her, can you reinforce it later with the words, you need to respect his judgment? When a major decision must be made, most men jump to their own opinions while women decide things the same way we shop. We have to see everything, think about everything, talk about everything, and then go back to the first thing. Just because a man doesn't say everything he thinks doesn't mean he hadn't thought about it. He just doesn't understand why we would have to say everything first, so he doesn't. And that's where I want to emphasize we need to teach our daughters that especially when they first marry, their husbands might not have real good judgment. But that's just because they're young. And if they stifle their husband's judgment by jumping in with their own opinions, they won't let them grow. You remember Sam Walton made a really good point when he was asked, how'd you become so successful? He said, good judgment. So they said, how'd you get good judgment? He said, experience. How'd you get experience? Bad judgment. We have to let our husbands make mistakes. That's the only way they can get good judgment. You cannot help him lead by hoping he will follow your example. You cannot help him lead by co-leading. You can only help him lead by being submissive and letting him learn, even if he has to learn the hard way. And then you do not say, I told you so, because you didn't say it. And here I'm going to throw in Ephesians 5:33. See that a wife respects her husband, because respect is a big part of obedience. I know you've all heard how important respect is to a man. It drives almost everything for him. Society, business, culture, war, and their marriages. It's why God emphasizes that wives must give their husbands respect, while husbands must give their wives love. My husband once taught a marriage class and passed out a list he found on 100 ways to love your wives, and boy, the ladies loved it. They all took it home to their husbands and said, here you go. But he couldn't find a list for the women of 100 ways to love your husband. Wasn't out there. So he asked the men in the class to make a list of ways they wanted to be shown love. They couldn't. Didn't get one. So he changed the assignment to write down 10 ways your wife can show you respect. Then he got his list. 80 ways. Men perceive respect with the same high that women perceive love. We need to teach our daughters that men have different needs than we do, and that's the way the perfect God made them. Obedience to husbands is learned by obedience to parents. It transfers to obedience to God and then to husbands. Well, I'm going to have to skip over one of the important things. Y'all going to have to figure it out yourselves, how to choose a husband. I'll just throw one in. Get her to make a list of what she's looking for in a husband. It can change as they get older. It's all right. And let it be her list, even if she puts down she wants red hair. She'll figure that out later. Now, the next way that we teach, the harder way, and Lisa, and we've all touched on it. Ezekiel 16:44. Behold, everyone that uses proverbs shall use this proverb against you, saying, as is the mother, so is her daughter. Even the pagans 3,000 years ago knew our daughters will grow up to be very much like us. I know it's a drop your shoulders moment. We want so badly for our daughters to do better than we've done, but our daughters need us to be what we want them to become. Titus 2, verse 3, the older women likewise, that they be reverent in behavior, not slanderers, not given to much wine, teachers of good things. Well, you are older than your daughter. So our daughters need us to be reverent in behavior, taking God seriously, applying scriptures to our lives. Originally, it meant acting like you were in a house of worship. You're here today, and that's evidence of taking God seriously. Well, it's hard to kind of define what acting reverently means. It's easier to think about acting irreverently. And you know, there's nothing worse, I think, than a silly old woman. Start now. So you won't be that in 30 years. Act reverently. Think about how you want to be in 30 years and be that now. Act seriously. Take God seriously. Our daughters need for us to not slander. Malicious gossips is what New American Standard says. It's actually the same word as the qualification for a deacon, not to be double-tongued. I think we all know not to slander. We don't really mean to hurt people, but gossip, idle speech, oh, that's harder. But listening when others are gossiping, that's even harder. What are some ways you've found to stop it, to keep yourself from listening? Ooh, it's quiet. That's probably the best way, right? Yeah.
Me and Laura actually had a little thing we would do when we were younger. Every time one of us would start talking about somebody, the other one would stop it there and be like, no, we can't gossip, we can't gossip.
Good.
We hold each other accountable
Okay.
that way, so just holding the other person you're talking to accountable.
Called it what it was.
They do that to you as well.
I like that. You just call it what it was. Say, nope, I'm not going to listen to gossip. Stop, please. Yeah. Okay, that's good. Sometimes when you don't know the person as well and you haven't made that agreement, oh, you raise your hand. I saw it go to your hair. Yeah. Okay, but yeah, I think that's a good way, especially among Christians, go, you know, I really don't want to hear that, and walk away. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I have 2 eyes. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, most of the time, if you're not involved with gossip, you don't even know what they're talking about.
Yes.
So you could easily say, I'm sorry, I don't know what you're talking about, but it sounds like you need to go talk to that person, or whatever.
Excellent way. Yeah. Yeah.
Mine was change the subject.
Yeah, change the subject. Yeah. How's the weather today? Right. That's a good one. Sometimes you can just look at them and just, and not say a thing.
But if it's a new group of people that you don't know, I just try to change the subject.
Yeah.
When we move to a new congregation and someone wants to tell us all about the people and their problems.
Yeah, right. Just kind of don't want to hear it.
I just think when
Pardon me?
when your ear is open to hear something, just say, wait a minute, let's go get that person that you're talking about and let's make sure we're telling the truth.
Yeah.
That usually will stop them in their tracks.
And
Stop the gossip.
right, and usually they know not to come back and tell you again anything else because that they don't want to be confronted with that again. Yeah. Right. Yeah, we need to. Yeah, can't touch your hair. Sorry. That's good. And sometimes you can just say, I wish you hadn't told me that. I really didn't want to know that. I don't like that. Yeah. Our daughters need for us to not be given to much wine or anything else that is addictive. And that can be our phones, Facebook, anything that you know is taking too much of your time. It can be all kinds of things in this world that we need to spend our time on other things that is much more productive. What strategies do you use to break bad habits? We all have them.
They say to replace it with something good.
Okay. Yes. We all have our Achilles heels that we have to try to work on. Breaking a bad habit is very hard sometimes, but I think, if you can try to replace it with something, that helps. I think I have to talk myself into really believing. I love the silver monsters. I got where I could drink 2 a day, and they were just way too expensive for that. And I finally found I just ran across a study that said what was it? They followed somebody, I don't know how many people, it didn't matter. It was enough, that drank 1 diet cola a day for 15 years, and then 10 years later checked up on them, and 300% higher heart attacks and 270% higher dementia. That was it. I was done. So whatever, if you could find the motivation, you could stop it, whatever it is. So you find the motivation and you could stop it. So, okay, find your motivation and maybe God. Yeah.
Like Anna mentioned a minute ago about having somebody to hold you accountable.
Yes.
Just get somebody that you trust and tell them what you're trying to do, what you're trying to change.
Right.
What bad habit you have, and get them to hold you accountable.
Right. Accountability. Yeah.
Well, my dear Brittany and I have concluded that when we slack in our prayer lives, that's when bad things happen.
Yeah. Yes. My grandma had that. Prayer will make you cease from sin, and sin will make you cease from prayer. Yeah. Our daughter's need for us to teach what is good. She needs spiritual teaching. She needs spiritual teaching from her father as well, but you're not in control of that. Just ask Lois and Eunice, who were the only positive examples I could find of the scriptures of a mother teaching her daughter. And that was, of course, only by implication. By the way, you can't nag your husband into fulfilling that role. You can only fulfill your responsibility. It's not easy. You're too busy, they're too busy, but you've got to find time for it. Daughters need to be taught the difference between wants and needs by what you consider wants and needs. Correct ourselves first, that we can teach and show our daughters the plan of God for their lives. Remember, remove the log from your eye before you try to get the speck out of theirs. What you do will outweigh what you say. Can't you see your mother in your actions and attitudes? Everything from how to cook a roast to how fast you raise your voice when you're frustrated. Your daughter sees those things and more in you as well. Therefore, you must apologize when you mess up. It's good for her and it's good for you. It helps you not repeat the error. I think it's behind the admonition to confess your sins to one another. Swallow your pride. It's hard, but it helps you stop the sin. I think it was one of my greatest faults when I was raising my children. I thought it was a matter of setting a good example. It wasn't. It was hypocrisy. It's better for them to learn the proper way to deal with the sin that we all have in our lives. This has been a good study for me, and I hope you've found something that'll help you to give your daughters and granddaughters what they need to learn to serve God faithfully. Let's pray. Lord, help us to use your word to fulfill the needs of our daughters, our sons, our husbands, and ourselves. Only through your wisdom can we find the peace that comes from fellowship with you. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you all.